Immortality or oblivion, hope or despair. Sometimes a choice isn't much of a choice at all when measured against the cost. Today we'll be discussing at length whether some endings can truly be considered good and whether or not the ends could ever justify the means. Yo! Havoc Nation has arrived. What's going on, everybody? Los Angeles Havoc here, aka Leitato, the one and only high priest of the congregation. Welcome back to another installment of Leitato Clips, where we've got a little bit of everything. And in today's video, I wanted to discuss a widely debated topic when it comes to the endings of Expedition 33. In many conversations across the community since the game's release and success, players have largely gone back and forth on which ending was, in fact, the good ending of the game. Now, this isn't surprising, as most games with multiple endings typically have a good, bad, worse, good, better, best, or standard, alternative, true format. In layman's terms, multiple endings typically illustrate the consequences of player choice and agency throughout the playthrough. It's a payoff to hours of quests, side quests, dialogue, and exposition that ultimately rewards consideration, effort, and curiosity. As it does with many other elements of the genre, Expedition 33 takes this concept to a completely different place. I discussed the matter somewhat briefly in my review, but I'm of the opinion that neither Verso's nor Mael's endings serve as a good ending. I say that as there is no true happy or wholesome ending to the cycle of grief. There can, however, be catharsis, release and relief, but the path there is different for everyone. That is the core principle of Expedition 33, and it is laid bare multiple times throughout the story. Tomorrow comes, whether we are prepared for it or not. If you couldn't already tell, we are definitely going in spoiler territory with this one, so I highly suggest either playing through the game or catching gameplay of each ending before watching this video. Alternatively, there's a link to my review of the game in the description of this video if you want to check that out, as I do give an overview of the game's story and cover both endings there in minor detail. If you're still here, I'm assuming you're familiar with the source material, so let's go ahead and break down each ending and why I believe neither really fit the formula for a good or bad ending. To recap, in the final showdown between Mael and Verso at the end of Expedition 33's narrative, players must choose whether they will side with one or the other. In Verso's ending, the canvas is essentially destroyed. All the characters that we have met along the way are erased, and the Desandra family is reunited in the real world, finally able to grieve and mourn together over the loss of Verso. The family then leaves one by one until Alicia, Mael's true self, is left standing at Verso's grave and proceeds a final look at her friends from the canvas before the screen fades to black. In Mael's ending, Verso is defeated and pleads with her to end his suffering. We then cut to Lumiere, and there seems to have been a bit of time that has passed. With Mael fully in control of her powers as a paintress, she has restored the city and all those who reside within it. Mael, as well as the former members of Expedition 33, are seen taking seats at the Opera House and eagerly await a piano performance by a noticeably aged Verso. Before playing, Verso looks out into the crowd, and before the screen cuts to black, we get an ominous look at Mael, whose face is now showing the signs of decay associated with prolonged exposure to the canvas. Now, some facts about each ending. Verso's ending most certainly does mean letting everyone go. It's both selfish, but also its own sacrifice. Though merely a painted copy of the deceased original, Verso fundamentally wants to see his family at peace, even if it means oblivion. Likewise, in Mael's ending, it is very clear that while, yes, everyone gets to live, we've already seen how that plays out if Mael allows herself to remain lost in the fantasy of the canvas. I would argue both endings are lose-lose scenarios, as both are giving up something and gaining essentially nothing. The illusion of Mael's ending is the false sense of hope, which is a brilliant illustration of how we tend to approach grief-related escapism. We bury ourselves in things that bring us joy to avoid pain, but without doing the work to truly address the grief, you'll eventually be swallowed by it. This is what we see earlier in the game with the paintress. While Verso's ending feels like the worst-case scenario, it is important to remember the detail that Verso is also, in that moment, face-to-face with the fragment of the original Verso's soul that has been stuck within the canvas, endlessly painting, an act of which he enjoyed in his youth but later came not to enjoy. So choosing his ending allows for that part of Verso to be freed and go to rest, even if it is at the cost of everyone else. Lastly, There is the consideration for the citizens of Lumiere whom have gone their entire lives not even realizing that they themselves are merely creations of a grieving mother. It's probably an entirely different video to unpack that by itself, but if nothing else, there is the question of, do these lives also hold meaning and value? They have sentience, they live, grow old, have families, etc. Yet, in the end, none of them get a say when we get to the 11th hour. All we get to see is the consequences of whatever choice we make, and still, saving them, once again, comes at a cost. So in my opinion, given all these facts, neither ending is a good ending. Neither really fits a bad ending narrative either, even though I can see how all of this is still very easily debatable. I think by design, these endings are a capstone to what we find ourselves going through when we navigate grief. The path through that pain has no course, and the collateral damage, for better or for worse, are always those that surround us. No one's grief looks or feels the same, and no one heals the same either. We find our way the best way we know how. Sometimes that's allowing ourselves to take a moment to be lost in order to be found. Other times, we must face it head on, even if that means dealing with the discomfort of the reality at hand. But that's just my opinion. I would love to know what your thoughts are on the matter. Let's discuss it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a solid and give it a thumbs up. It might seem like a little bit, but it does go a long way in terms of helping the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. And if you want to see more content like this, do be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Once again, my name is Los Angel of Havoc. Thank you for watching Late Tato Clips. We will see you next time, friends. Same late time, same late channel.